It's SEN Test Cricket, Ashes cricket for Tyre Power. Raise the bat as you save on Falcon tyres, get 4 for 3. One last time, Australia didn't make it to 384. They were all out for 334. That's the headline news. England victorious by 49 runs, and whilst they don't regain the Ashes, they do take a 2-all draw. They were down 2-0. They bowled magnificently today. Chris Woakes with 4 of the best you'll ever see. He was immaculate. Moeen Ali, in his final test match, he walked off with Stuart Broad taking 3 and getting England going after that long rain delay that washed out the middle session, and it was always going to be Stuart Broad. As Phil Walker said on our commentary, who writes this bloke's scripts? The last 2 wickets caught behind from the bowling of Broad. England victorious here. Australia retained the Ashes, but there was no celebration either on the stage or indeed in the press conference after.
We were exactly here 4 years ago at the Oval when Australia retained the Ashes and drew the series 2-all. England won here in 4 days. But there was a very different vibe to the Australian team back then. I remember standing exactly where I was today, behind the Australian team. And yes, I mean, they were disappointed that they lost here. But there was this, they're up and about. They couldn't wait to get to the podium to pose with the urn. The energy wasn't there today. I saw Mitchell Starc, who deservedly won the Player of the Series award from an Australian perspective. He walked back towards his teammates with a big bottle of champagne that he had won as part of the prize, and he just showed it to them, placed it there. There was no big high five, there was no big celebration, but it's been that kind of month. You could almost break this series up, or this tour up, into June and July for Australia. June was all about them winning. They won the World Test Championship final right here. They won at Edgbaston. They found a way to win there. They won at Lord's just in the first couple of days of July. But from that point on, I almost circle it back to 7 for 142 at lunch in the third test. The knives were being sharpened in the English press. We'll tell you what happened in Scotland, they said. But then Mark Wood in 8 balls just turned things around. Ben Stokes played that innings once again. And it's been England more or less all the way from there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does feel a fitting result. If Australia won today and hold down 385, 384 rather, different story. Then you can say, well, they've done something very special. That would have been the 8th highest successful run chase in Test cricket history, and so on. But they don't, and thus history might be written by the winners, to go back to what you were saying a moment ago. But England were the winners today, and they were the winners at Leeds, and in all probability they would have been the winners at Manchester as well if not for rain. So Australia retained the urn. That's good and right and proper, in keeping with the conventions of the Ashes series. But England 2-all feels right as well, given the way they were able to stick the landing today.
Yeah, I mean, there were phases even during today's play which kind of are emblematic of how the series is gone, where you thought Australia are actually giving it a fair shout. We saw that yesterday with the opening stand, and I'm sure we'll come to the ball, the changed ball late last evening that started hooping around. We saw only 8 or 9 balls with it last evening, but today batting looked a lot more difficult. The lights were on yet again. How many sessions of batting in this session for Australia have been under lights? It's amazing. Yeah. Someone will break it down at some point. And the batting was very, very different and more challenging. And they lose the 3 wickets. You're like, okay, this is how run chases go, don't they? But then Steve Smith and Travis had put on that partnership. And then the rain comes. And then they start off very, very confidently after the rain break. For a brief period, we thought there would be no play. But then we were told it would be 52 overs. And we were told it's 47 overs. And Travis Head and Steve Smith were in control. Till Travis Head played a slightly loose drive of a Moeen Ali delivery that drift and then pitched and gripped and turned a mile. And once that wicket fell, the collapse set in. And then there was a brief glimmer from Alex Carey and Todd Murphy. You were like, whoa, could this be the final twist? The nicest villain in the world, Alex Carey, after all the booing, could he see them home? But it wasn't to be. And who else but Stuart Broad, who writes his script? He writes his own scripts. He just swapped the bail and got the wicket of Todd Murphy. He beat the bat so many times. He gets Todd Murphy out, and it just had to be Stuart Broad who had to get the last wicket. Yeah,
the bail switching goes straight into Ashes folklore as well. Twice in the Test match, Broad doing that and reaping the reward from the next ball. You wouldn't hear of it, but such has been the life and times of Stuart Broad. And I don't want to brush over Moeen Ali either. To bowl as well as he did with a clear groin complaint. He couldn't run. In the first session, he couldn't make his way out to the field. They did it with Mark Wood only bowling 1 spell today, picking up the crucial wicket of Marnus Labuschagne after Woakes collected Warner and Khawaja not long after the resumption, both set men from the previous night with balls that really did move. You know, we'll come back to the ball. We'll do it now. Let's go to the ball first.
Yeah.
The ball and the way that it's picked out of the box, we know that it's an imperfect process. They should look at the process more than worrying too much and getting too fixated on the actual ball itself, because it does feel a bit too much pot luck, because the ball that England had, and a colleague of ours from the press box made this point, they were preparing that to reverse swing, so they were letting it deteriorate naturally and adding to that process when they switched it over. The ball they changed it to had no such work done on it, and it was so good that they never took the second new ball or third new ball. They never took another one after 80 overs. They let Stuart Broad operate with that till the very end in the 105th over of the innings. So that speaks volumes about how good the ball was that they changed up to, and how influential it was through the morning session and the evening session as well.
Hey, just split screen, I'm sure all of you have seen, or most of you have seen it on social media. It was so defined. You could see the imprint on the ball, the brand name on both sides, the ball that was the changed ball. And they didn't have to wait for the second new ball, because they kind of got it earlier on in the innings, didn't they, at the 35th over mark. And you're right, it did have a big say, but I think the Australians have played it down, said, the rub of the green has gone, the rub of the red has gone their way a couple of times in the past as well. So these things happen, but it completely changed the game. And Usman Khawaja spoke to us and he said just the way the ball was hitting the bat, he said he hadn't felt that throughout the series. So that tells you how significant that ball change was. But then England can turn around and say three of the wickets, the crucial wickets, came to Moeen Ali. Once Steve Smith and Travis Head got set, it was Moeen Ali who turned the game in a way. And look, I mean, that's the beauty of these run chases, right, Adam? We always think the team batting in the fourth innings is going to get over the line, but it doesn't happen very often. It often takes just 2 or 3 wickets, and that's what happened today.
Yeah, the catch from Bairstow off Moeen Ali to get rid of Mitch Marsh, the stonking delivery to David Warner. Everything broke England's way today. That's it. That's our coverage complete for SEN Test Cricket for Tyre Power. Raise the bat as you save on Falcon tyres, 4 for 3. It's been an absolute privilege bringing it to you over the last 6 weeks. The World Test Championship as well. Adam Collins of Bharat Sundaresan, good night from the Oval.